time, though, of the show, always.
The Tight Five.
5 separate sporting topics, roughly a minute on each. And when that goes, well, we go on to the next topic. I want to talk about Alcaraz, his 3rd Grand Slam. Statistically very impressive, this young man. He's done that faster than any other player in tennis history. That's won 3 Grand Slams at the tender age of 21 in days. How bad were the Black Caps, Lachlan? How inexcusable is their rustiness and lack of match preparation? Was that the best Warriors performance that you have seen this year so far? Or is it more like the South Sydney one where we were just playing really poor opposition, and let's not get too carried away, because do remember what happened after beating the Rabbits. We drew with Manly and then lost 4 matches in a row. So did we have to temper expectations slightly, or do we start thinking this side's looking like the top 4 side it was last year? There was something missing from the Super Rugby quarterfinals. It's not just me who's thinking that. I think most rugby fans just a little underwhelmed by the fact that it was just all a bit too predictable. And even Justin Marshall saying that an hour ago with us. Can the Mavs win this series if they lose both of these games? And I've got to tell you about the dog who crapped in the coffee shop on the weekend. I'm not joking, ladies and gentlemen. He dumped right on the floor just as I ordered a coffee. Let's kick it, though, quickly with the basketball. It's a 10-point margin at the moment, 93-83, Boston over Dallas. Both opening games in Boston, 7:24 to go in this game. I know that you keep saying that the 2 best closers on the floor at the moment are for the Dallas Mavericks, and that's Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But if they go 0-2, can they come back?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And the main reason being, there's been many times in the NBA playoffs, and it's recent history where a team has been up 2-0 and gone on to lose the series, even 4-2, let alone 4-3.
Tell me Phoenix against
Milwaukee.
The Bucks.
Well, in terms of the finals itself, yep, there was 06, Dallas were up 2-0,
That's
lost
right.
4-2 to Miami.
Right, yep.
And off the top of my head, those are the only ones I can think of. There was a Western Conference Finals between the Spurs and the Thunder in 2012, where the Spurs were up 2-0, Thunder won the next 4. So then it happens a bit more than you'd actually think. It's more the fact that Boston have actually been a spectacular team on the road this year by comparison to home. It's not that they are a lot better, but they're almost, if you isolate them on the road, they're seriously good, and at home they tend to slip up a bit more. So that's the main concern, and Dallas haven't exactly been defending home court spectacularly in the playoffs. So no, if they go down 2-0 against a team that is objectively better than them by the numbers as well as the passing the eye test, I don't see how Dallas comes back. You need they need Kyrie and Doncic to fire, and Doncic played really well game 1, at least the numbers suggested so, and he's been all right tonight, but Kyrie hasn't. He's been pretty underwhelming this final series so far. So, and he's got 14 tonight. Doncic has 29, but when you got a Boston team where you got 5 players with 10 or more in double digits, 3 of those 17 or more. So when you've got a team that's spreading the scoring that much and has so many options, which has been the case all season, very hard to beat.
Something missing from the Super Rugby quarterfinals. All the expected winners winning well enough.
The Crusaders?
Well,
that was what was missing.
Yeah, they were missing. Good point. I just think in the entertainment day and age, the predictability is a problem. It needs a competitive edge, and it's not a criticism of the teams that won, because they go out there and they just take care of business, which is what they did. But it's just that when you're sitting down over the weekend and you're looking at all the sport to watch, I didn't finish watching a single game of Super Rugby. I watched bits of them, and then I moved on. And it was the same on Saturday night when the Blues were playing the Drua. As soon as the Warriors started, I switched the telly because you knew the result.
Yeah.
And otherwise, what I'd normally do is I'd normally record and I'd go back and watch it. But I didn't even do that because I knew that they were going to win. And so really the only thing I was really interested in was, was there a yellow card? Was there a sending off? Who got injured? Those kind of side stories to it. Obviously, the 2 semi-finals are going to be awesome this weekend. You've got the best 4 teams playing. We know that. I mean, that's as per seedings and everything else. Maybe the final series next year might make it a bit more interesting with only 6 teams, but...
Well, is it going to be that?
Well, but no, unless somehow all of these Rebels players land up the very best of them at one Australian franchise, and that Australian franchise then becomes better or the equal of the Brumbies, I can't see how it does change.
No, it's not going to change, but it's also a competition that it's a competition that's been flawed for a long time, and just because you change up the structure of it and you get rid of some teams and then you create 2 new teams, you can tinker with things as much as you like. It's always going to be a competition that has such a stark difference between its best teams and its worst teams. And as much as people say, oh, look, the Panthers have won 3 premierships in the NRL, 3 in a row. Oh, Man City are dominating the Premier League. That's all well and fine, but you'll have, talking about those teams specifically, you'll have weeks where they don't win their games, when the Warriors beat the Panthers and upset them, and when Man City would drop points, at home to Tottenham or Aston Villa, for example. Also, the gap between the best and the worst isn't big at all. I'm looking at the NRL table right now, and you've got Melbourne on 22 points, Cronulla on 20, Penrith on... Cronulla on 22, Penrith on 20. But then there's 3 points between 4th and 10th, and 4 between 4th and 13th. So the tightness of the NRL is unlike anything else, really. And that's what Super Rugby struggles to have. And part of it is the spread of talent, the spread of depth in the comp. And there's rules that they can certainly put in place to fix that. Things like salary caps, things like trading periods and whatnot, mimicking what American sports do.
I think a big part of it is just to actually just relax the rules, open the door and say the New Zealand players can play for any team they want in this competition because they're playing in the competition.
Or vice versa, any Aussies can play for who they want.
And it just spice it up a little.
But what you'll also find is a lot of those players in New Zealand, like a Josh Ioane, for example, who's not the chief starting team, but he could get offered a job to be the starting team for the Waratahs. He might be like, well, I can get more money and live in Sydney.
Yeah,
Spectacular.
Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do that? Best Warriors performance you've seen so far this season? Yay or no?
Yes and no. Yes, in terms of just isolating the game and how well they played. No, because I think the Penrith one was just spectacular. That was more down to the heart that they showed as much as the
first
skill.
20 minutes though was awesome. They never made a single mistake.
No.
I mean, they basically won the game inside 20 minutes.
For me, the Cowboys are a team that I'm always going to be half glass full with, because I really like Todd Payton and I think they've got some good players. So I did go into it thinking this is going to be a real test for the Warriors, and they're up in North Queensland.
Exactly right. Same.
But I just don't actually think the Cowboys are really that great. And the Warriors, looked brilliant. They really did. But you know what it is? Maybe it's something as simple as they had some key players come back from injury. They're only missing 2 of them now, which is Roger and Sean, right? There's no one else. I mean, Tohu, I thought he was dropped to the bench, I think, before kickoff, which was a
obviously Metcalf,
surprise. Metcalf as well, but no, the Warriors were brilliant. They really were. They were really good. things were clicking. Things went well. There was like the moment where Dallin clawed the ball back and Chance scored. There was that.
Hello.
But there was also the Rocco Berry where it bounced up and then he sort of regathered it and scored, didn't he? That was a try as well, I think. I mean, when things like that happen, you kind of know it. Yeah. You know it's your day. But you can't criticise them. They were brilliant, the Warriors. They really were. And the great thing about it is that it's 3 straight wins mixed in with the bye. So that's 8 points in the last month or so. And all of a sudden now they're only 1 point off the top 8. And there's a couple of teams in the top 8.
Season back on track, no question.
Yeah, well, there's one team in the top 8 in the Dragons who probably shouldn't really be there. And there's another in my Broncos who are going to be sliding out of there very soon. So...
Carlos Alcaraz wins, and we'll talk the tennis shortly. His 3rd Grand Slam. The only one that is missing is the Australian Open. So he won the US to start with. He won Wimbledon last year. Yep. He's now won on clay, which is the surface we expected him to be strongest on. The new breed. I mean, he beat Sinner in the semi-final. Zverev has these domestic violence accusations hanging over his head, which always puts an asterisk beside his name as far as I'm concerned.
Those have been there for about a year and a half, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't mean that they aren't real, and he doesn't have to answer for them, this guy is the future of tennis, I think, isn't he? Him and Sinner really are the two, I think, that the sport looks at now. Yep. He seems like such a charming young bloke. He's 21, he's overachieving. And then you get Swiatek. I mean, we're going to talk about this. Obviously, going to talk about this with Nick Lester in a second. 3 in a row. Anyone that wins 3 Grand Slams, the same Grand Slam 3 times in a row, it's a very rare thing to do. So, I mean, I don't know whether she can replicate this and become the best player in the world like a Steffi Graf or a Serena and win continuous Grand Slams, but she's dominant on clay.
Well, she's won 4 on clay. She's also won not Wimbledon. She won an Aussie Open, I think, years ago. So she has 5 spread across 4 years. So she probably is the best in the world, at least by the numbers. But it's a hint of Rafael Nadal, where a lot of the success is on one surface, which I mean, you can't criticise it for that. In terms of Alcaraz, there's a great stat that he's the youngest player to win all the 3 Grand Slams on different surfaces, if that makes sense, the first to get to 3. And he also was as younger than both Roger and Novak to get to his first 3 Grand Slam titles as well.
Any time that you can produce a stat for your career that you've done something before those guys have done it. I mean, you're talking about 2 guys that have won, 24 and 20-something Grand Slams. Couple of texts that are coming. You'll see how good the Warriors are this weekend when they face the Storm. This will tell us exactly where they're at, says Gareth. I absolutely believe you on that. I think you're right. And Lachlan, now that South Sydney are rolling, does that mean that the Broncos are going to continue to
steady on? They're not rolling.
They've
won 2 games in a row. They're not rolling.
South Sydney are right. You talk about South Sydney when they make the 8, okay? They're like the Parramatta Eels who are going to lose tonight, Bob, to the Dogs. Yeah. A couple of quick ones before we go. How bad were the Black Caps, Lachlan? And I'll keep making the same point here that it's not the loss that upset me, because obviously, I've watched New Zealand cricket long enough to know that this team is going to arse
No, but you
up.
shouldn't be. No, but
I mean, that's not. But this takes me back to the Chapel Hadley one-day series of a couple of years ago, where we went over there so seriously underprepared, no warm-up matches or anything, and then we were giggling on the sideline as we collapsed 8 wickets down for about 50 runs. And the same attitude is prevalent in the same group of players a couple of years later. They don't give a stuff, is what it is. Yep. They don't care enough. And you can't. That's the only conclusion I can come to. You're going to a World Championship event and you think you're so far at your own backside that you don't have to put the preparation in. This is professional sport. Guess what happened? You got thoroughly embarrassed by a team that wanted to win.
But they don't care.
They don't care.
I don't think they care.
They don't care.
Because you had, as you brought up, you had Kane Williamson post-match, and not to be too disrespectful to Kane, but also to be disrespectful to him.
Oh, he just says the same thing. We'll take the learnings.
He says, we didn't play well, but full credit to Afghanistan. They played brilliant. And I just thought, no. Show a little bit of heart about the fact
you should be wild at the fact that your team has played like that can't catch in the field.
Well, there's a hint of what the All Blacks were like in 2022 to this. One thing that I think frustrated us more than anything was there didn't seem to be enough hurt within those players.
When they lose.
You were losing, but you were losing for the first time to someone. You were losing, the first time to Ireland at home, the first time losing a series.
And then you get handed a Rolex watch each.
Yeah, first time losing to Argentina at home. You don't seem too upset about it. This is the first time they've ever lost to Afghanistan, I think, in all 3 formats. I agree with you. If it's a loss, okay, if it's England, South Africa, India, Pakistan, a bigger nation, sure, I don't mind. But it's Afghanistan, who you've never lost to before. No. There's no excuse. You shouldn't be losing this.
You were absolutely towed.
It wasn't like it was close.
No. I mean, they were laughing at us in the end. They were running around laughing
when he's getting wickets in the last over.
No,
I kind of agree with Rich, who caught up earlier. Look, I just don't care. I don't have time to worry about people who don't care about the black jersey and the silver fern. I don't want it, well, in this case, the teal jersey, but I don't want to give them any attention or anything.
I'm hoping, I know this is the only time I'll ever say this for a New Zealand sports team, I'm hoping the West Indies dick us on Thursday and send us home with our tail between our legs, because this is what's needed for both this team and the administration that allows this. And that's what frustrates me. Where's the CEO, Scott Weinick? He should be coming down here with a hammer is what he should be right now. Where is he? He's Mark Robinson 2.0, isn't he? This crap has just got to stop, where players can pick and choose when they play, when they can turn up when and if they want, when the women's captain, Sophie Devine, can decide she doesn't want to train with her team, so she'll just plug into Zoom sessions while she's still in Perth because she can't be asked. This is what the result of you letting the players get away with all of this stuff, New Zealand cricket. You're now wearing it. Finally, the dog crapped in the coffee shop. Every day you got to take your puppy for obviously his ablutions and everything. And so yesterday, wandering down to the coffee shop and he did a big one, did a big dump on this, as he does. I always clean it up. I'm a bag man. I got the bags and everything. And so after that, so there I was. I just walked in, did my order, and I feel him pulling the lead. I turn around, and I'm not joking. There he is, just right in the middle of the floor, doing it again. And Lachlan, it was a load. I mean, this was, you've just been to the toilet, mate. No, honestly, I was flapping, I was fussing.
How solid was it?
I was so embarrassed. It was okay. But, it's just the fact of when he's in that position, he gets into the crouch position. There were people at the tables eating. There just has happened to be 4 guys. One of them, a guy called Charlie, said, put that on your podcast, mate. He said, I'll ring you up and ask you about it on Monday. Well, Charlie, the phone lines are open. 0800 332 283. The great thing was, the guy who owned the coffee shop, Andre, just a superb bloke. I mean, I'm just sitting there going out of my brain about this. And can I have some paper towels? I wipe it all up. He disinfects it. And he says, it would have been a hell of a lot worse if it was you doing it, Martin.
He'll need the hit to get the platform.
What a platform this is.
Gave us a little bit of a platform to come in.
Devlin.
You've got to love sport.
The platform.